Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. Welcome to another edition of Mean Streets, powered by FTN right here on Game Plus Network, live on our FTN Network YouTube page. Chris Meaney hanging out with you here today. Hopefully everybody's having a fantastic end to their week. Let's get into the weekend with some winners here, hopefully, on this show. We will dive into week 11 of the NFL season. Take a look at those betting lines. Take a look at some line movement. We've seen quite a bit of line movement, mostly from teams in the NFC East. We'll touch on that in just a little bit. Unsure if the Bills and the Browns are even going to happen. I don't know if everybody's seeing on Twitter. Twitter's still alive, by the way, as of right now, not officially gone. I saw that last night. Everything was rest in peace. Twitter, all these things are changing on Twitter. I don't know much about it, but I do know that I saw some pictures this morning in Buffalo. Von Miller tweeted one, his car buried in snow. The Bills haven't left yet. They just announced yesterday that the game was going to happen in Detroit. Of course, Buffalo is playing Thanksgiving Thursday in Detroit as well. So I don't know if they can push that game to Monday. That's not really fair to push it to Monday and then have the Bills turn around and play a couple days later. So we'll keep an eye on anything that kind of filters through. We'll take your starter sit questions on the show as per usual. You're hanging out with us live on our FTN Network YouTube page. Smash the like button. Leave those questions in the comment section. You watch the replay of this show, maybe you hop on over from Game Plus Network over to our FTN Network YouTube page, and you ask those questions, and I'll always circle back before kickoff in the NFL starter sit stuff. We'll have you covered over at FTN Network. We'll have the NFL betting show coming your way today at 5 Eastern. Myself, Mike Randall, and Taylor Mathis. We also have Start and Sit with Jeremy over the weekends to answer your questions on a Sunday. We have a live DFS show happening on this afternoon as well to get you set up for your DFS lineups. Friday, always at 4 o'clock. The guys will be with you on Sunday morning as well to help you get set up. And then we'll have a free DFS show. If you're not part of the FTN Daily family, we have a free show happening on Tuesday at 3:30 Eastern, taking care of you guys, the three Turkey Day games on Thanksgiving, the 3 football games. That show is free, as I mentioned, but, also running free trials over at ftndaily.com and ftnbets.com, ftndaily.com/free, link inside the description of this video for both websites. I think the perfect time to jump in and see what we have to offer for the 3-day free trial at ftnbets.com. All picks across all sports from everybody, projections, NFL projections to help you get set up for your week 11 matchups, and also Discord access in there as well. World Cup day here today. We have Zac Graham, aka Quasenberg DFS, does some fantastic stuff. I think he's one of the best hosts in the game. He knows the game inside out when it comes to the NBA and soccer, as well as football. May have to ask him a question or two about his Steelers, but he is going to join the show here today. We're going to talk a little bit about the World Cup, but also bets available at ftnbets.com right now from Zach and our very own Steph Vaccarino. They ran through all 8 groups on our YouTube page, can be seen for free. We also have a free World Cup preview, betting preview. I mean, all 32 team breakdowns, all 8 group previews, best bets. It's all there for you. As I mentioned, if you like the video style, the videos are quick hits, 7 minutes each on each group. And we're going to touch a little bit on Zach's favorite bets and, maybe some dark horse teams. Brazil is favorite, of course. They usually are. 5-time winner. We haven't seen them win in quite some time, but we will talk about Brazil and other teams. But if you're looking for just a preview, you're in a soccer pool, check it out. ftnbets.com. I have a link inside the description of this video. If it's not there right now, I make sure I'll put it in after, just a link to our World Cup guide. And then, as I mentioned, all the group previews are in the guide, but also can be found on our FTN Network YouTube page. So ftndaily.com/free. Again, same sort of deal as the bet. Trial, 3 days free. Good time to use it to kind of check it out. We have optimizers for the NFL, for the NBA, a huge basketball slate tonight in the association. And then, of course, week 11 NFL. And then you'll have, if you get it today, you have it for the weekend. You'll get to Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then, you decide if you want to hang out with us for a little bit longer. Promo code Meaney, save yourself a little bit of cash. I will get into the game last night in the next block. Zach's hanging by. We're going to get him block 3 here to preview some of the World Cup. Again, happening this Sunday. It gets underway. Last night, really not a lot surprising. We had the Titans on this show. We had them to cover. There's more points than I thought. I think the biggest surprise was probably the usage through the air when it comes to Treylon Burks. Had a nice game in his second game returning. He looked fantastic. He looks like a player in the NFL. There's no question. And Robert Woods popped up a little bit. We did get some of our props right. Of course, we had the Titans, as I mentioned, did not get the under, so there's more points than I thought. We did get Christian Watson. We had to sweat that one out a little bit. We did get his receiving yards. He had 2 touchdowns again. He's got 5 touchdowns now in 5 days. He leads all rookie wide receivers in touchdowns, just like that. Christian Watson. Again, we're going to win a lot of consolation brackets on this show for telling everybody to hang tight with Christian Watson. Probably cost you like 6 or 7 losses, but here down the stretch, he looks like he could be a league winner. Alan Lazard popped off for the yards. We had Derrick Henry receiving yards. He had a big, long catch through the air, but we did not get his rushing yards, and we didn't get the combined rushing and receiving from Aaron Jones. But it was a positive day, and as I mentioned, hopefully we can continue here into the weekend. We got some picks against the spread and a couple props. Props are just kind of surfacing through, so I only have a couple that I like. If I see a couple pop up that I like here before the end of the show, I'll definitely share them with you guys, but we will have that betting show coming your way. We'll have several picks, 5 Eastern, FTN Network YouTube page, as well as the Prize Picks Prop Show. Dane Martinez joined the FTN family this week. We're happy to have him. We did some stuff. I did some stuff personally with him over at Anthem Sports and Entertainment, and he's a super sharp dude, a great host, a great analyst, and he's going to be doing a show next week. We're launching a daily bets show with mostly props. It's going to be about 15, 20 minutes, Monday through Friday. Still working on the time, but look for that coming your way starting on Monday. But Dane is going to have some NFL Prize Picks props for you. Our Prize Picks prop show comes your way every single day over at FTN, our network YouTube page. We had a video pop up this morning, a college football video with Monotone and the great Michael Govier, who I just think he just kills me. He has always got me in stitches. He's enthusiastic. He's always coming in with a smile on his face, a lot of energy, and I dig it. I'm all about it. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll dive into a little bit from last night. I see some people hanging out here in the chat. Start to sit questions. We will get to them. Only one game in the NHL tonight. It's the Vancouver Canucks and the LA Kings. Of course, I am going to have a shot prop for you and maybe a prop or two that we can target, on the ice. But mostly some World Cup talk here, followed by some football props and picks against the spread. Leave those questions and we will get to them. Hang tight. Mean Streets continues here on Game Plus Network next.
I can't say enough about what we've got going on over at FTNBets.com.
At FTN Bets, your bankroll can be profitable. With the FTN Bet Tracker, you can tell your favorite experts across all sports, including the NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball.
Welcome back to Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. I'm your host, Chris Meaney.
And with our premium content, you can take your bets to the next level. Only $49.99 a month. Use the tools the pros use at FTN. Our betting models run over 100,000 simulations of every game, with sides and totals in the NFL, the NBA, and more. Use the home run predictor to see who'll hit a bomb deep. Our NFL player projections will make you a DFS king. And the FTN Prop Shop always finds the best odds for your player props. All tools, projections, and models are powered by FTN Data.
Welcome back in. A couple news items here. Friday's always a big day in the NFL. Also wanted to share that set bet spike with myself and Eric Young. We record a Friday mornings. We couldn't link up this morning, but we will record this afternoon, and we'll have some more props filter through. We're looking to go around 2:30 Eastern time, so we're gonna run through all the games, and we'll have like some touchdown calls and some props in those games. And I'm sure we're going to get a few more props filtering through. There's a couple that I'm looking. I just can't seem to find. Like I'm looking for Devontae Smith. I am. We had this catch prop on Thursday. Was it Thursday? It was Monday night, right? They played the Monday night football game against Washington. And with no Dallas Goedert, I expect him to, be a big time player in the passing game moving forward. AJ Brown's a stud. We all know AJ Brown's a stud. He'll probably have games with more yards than Devontae, but I think Devontae is going to, if I'm projecting targets the rest of the way between the two, I'd say it's Devontae. I say he's going to lead the way in targets, more of a possession wide receiver. I noticed they do some quick throws with him, some bubbles, some slants. He's a terrific route runner. And then they stretch the field a little bit with AJ. We'll keep an eye on that. Neither guy practiced in full on Thursday. I would imagine that they are good to go. A couple of reports that I did see this morning that I wanted to share with you guys. Zeke, according to the great Jerry Jones, says that he should be available week 11. Jerry's always calling the shots, right? Jerry cheers is what I saw on Roto World this morning. Zeke should be available to play. Wan'Dale Robinson expected to play too. I think he's a risky play. Darius Slayton, I was looking at Slayton. I probably should have him included in my props here this weekend. I actually have him in the bet tracker at plus money, plus 100 for over 43.5 receiving yards. He's just trending up inside this offense. I think he's worthy of a start as a low end wide receiver 3 or a flex. He's very boomer bust. He had a really good season in 2020. Has had some issues staying healthy for sure, but when he is healthy and he's on the field, and there's no Sterling Shepard, and there is no Sterling Shepard, what I have noticed over the past couple of years with Daniel Jones, that he takes some shots down the field with Slayton. We've seen a touchdown from him. Maybe he has 2. I know he scored last week. I'm pretty interested in him. Maybe just because I have him in a couple deep leagues and I need him, but I think he could get his receiving yard prop. I think he can end up with 50 or 60. I believe we have him for 50 receiving yards. And as I mentioned, 43.5, I think is plus money over at DraftKings. Chase Young may be held out. It sounded like he was going to return to the Washington Commanders, starting to play really good football, strong run defense. Allen and Payne is a really nice 1-2 punch. And, eventually when they get Chase Young in there, that's going to be, back to being a good defense. I know, good front 7. We'll say that. Secondary still some issues there. Also with Washington, J.D. McKissick doesn't look like he's going to play this weekend. So a little bit of a mix between Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson. We talked a lot about Brian Robinson on the show last week. We liked Brian Robinson. I know a lot of people were dropping him. I said I thought that would be a mistake. The schedule is really nice for Washington moving forward. Now they just played the Eagles, which was a really nice matchup for Robinson and Gibson. They both found the end zone. Robinson had like 20 plus touches, 80 plus rushing yards, and a matchup this week against Washington. I kind of like Robinson a little bit more than Antonio Gibson. I know Jake disagreed with that. I think they're both startable. Maybe Gibson has a bit of a higher ceiling because he's going to catch a few passes, but this is a game that I think they can control. I think they'll keep to the game plan they had last week, which is really their game plan all year in Washington, is to slow the pace down a little bit, run on first and second down, get into some manageable situations, third and short, and extend drives, which they did perfectly at the link on Monday. And I like Brian Robinson. I think he's going to end up with another 15 plus touches on the ground. If you get me 15 touches, 15 carries against this Texans run defense, he's probably going to end up with 60 plus rushing yards. His prop is right around that, and I like the over on that one. Mecole Hardman was placed on IR. Abdomen illness. Haven't heard this one. I don't think ever. We'll keep an eye. Hopefully he's all good. He was starting to trend up in the offense. He missed last week. He's going to miss at least the next 4 weeks. All of a sudden, Kadarius Toney is in just such a prime spot because Juju is questionable as well to play this week. And if there's no Juju, we already know there's no Mecole Hardman. Kadarius Toney in a high-powered, high total game against the Chargers could see a lot of points in that game. And speaking of the Chargers, Keenan played yesterday. It was limited, but he's practicing. He practiced and didn't play. He didn't do a whole lot out there, but he was out on the field anyways. He's practicing. So we'll see. We'll see if we do see Mr. Keenan Allen. We're going to break. We're going to bring in Zac Graham. As I mentioned, a little bit later on, Deesh, the Mooney Palmer thing. We'll get to that in a little bit. That's going to be really all about the Chargers wide receivers. If we're seeing Keenan and we're seeing Mike Williams, and I think we'll see both. You may want to go Mooney there and in the spot against the Falcons where we could see some points. Mooney's been trending up in the offense. So that's one that you'll probably have to wait wait to see what happens here today, if there's any news on practice reports with those two guys. But any starter sit, leave them. Zach's a big football guy too. He can get to some of those. He can help us out if you have them. But a little bit of World Cup talk here, and then we'll get back into the NFL, some props, some picks against the spread, and NHL pick or two for you as well. Lots to get to here on Mean Streets, but World Cup talk in here next with the great Weisenberg DFS. Stay tuned.
At DraftKings Sportsbook, you can bet on nearly any sport imaginable. The NFL, the NBA, college football, college basketball, golf, the NHL, tennis, Major League Baseball, MMA, and more. Download the DK Sportsbook app on iOS and Android operating systems, as well as on your desktops or in mobile browsers. Get the best bonuses using promo code FTN. Remember, the only way to gamble responsibly is to win. Prize Picks is a creative new way to parlay picks based on expected fantasy point production and single stat projections. You pick 2 to 5 players and predict if they'll go over or under their projected fantasy point total or their single stat total. When parlaying the players, the larger your parlay, the better the payout. A 2-pick entry pays 3x. A 3-pick entry pays 5x. A 4-pick entry pays 10x. As a bonus offer, there's a flex play option. This provides an added level of security on your entry where you can decrease your multiplier received if you miss one of your entries, but hit on all the others. At FTN, we have Prize Picks coverage for every sport in both article and standalone pick format on our Prize Picks pick tracker. Use promo code FTN for a 100% deposit match on your first deposit of up to $100.
Welcome back in. Mean Streets here live on Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney, as we bring in Zac Graham. Remember when I called you Gallon that one time?
Yeah, you're still in MLB mode.
I am, yeah. Weisenberg DFS, fantastic stuff, dude. I want to say it off the top. It is Zac Graham. I was just kidding with him. You and Steph did, I thought, a great job, man, with the previews, like the World Cup previews. I thought it was really, really well done. You guys rolled through all 8 groups. You gave some sneaky little bets, players to watch. You even gave some long shots. It wasn't a lot of chalk. And as we roll through, sometimes there is a lot of chalk, right, in soccer. I mean, I'm rocking a Brazil shirt here. I followed Brazil since I was a little kid, right? I just, when I was playing FIFA with my grandfather, he was always Germany and France. And I'd be like, hey, I can't just pick, Nigeria and hope that I, run all over you. I got to pick a competitive team here in Brazil. I go back to not just, Ronaldinho, but Roberto Carlos and Ronaldo and some really nice players. But of course they are the favorites, but you guys didn't just roll through all the chalk. You ran through the groups and you talked about maybe some sneaky plays, and it's free. Our World Cup betting preview is free as well over at ftnbets.com. 32 team previews, group predictions, group previews. It's all there. And if you want the video version, you're here on our FTN Network YouTube page. You're on Game Plus. You can hop on over and check it out for free. I thought very informative. Zach, let's get into it. Before we look at just the overall futures, we have a board here of all the groups, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm a soccer expert, but I roll through some of these groups, and I think, I look at A here and like Netherlands and Senegal. And we'll save B and we'll save F for a little bit because I actually think that those groups are really tough. And I know a lot of people watching here, Americans and Canadians, are interested in those nations. But Group C, Argentina and Mexico. D, France and Denmark. E, Spain and Germany. I think maybe we could see Costa Rica potentially, but Spain and Germany up at the top. And then Brazil, of course, massive favorites here. I think that there could be a battle who could be the number 2 in Group G. And then H, Portugal, Uruguay. I like both of those squads quite a bit. Am I wrong in thinking that those teams that I mentioned are pretty much locks to move forward? Or do you think that there could potentially be an upset as you look here on the board with some of those groups?
I think I'm pretty much in lockstep with you, although I will disagree. I know you mentioned Senegal, and I know Steph and I were talking about that at length, the Sadio Mane injury, right? And about
Right.
24 hours ago, Senegal ruled him out for the tournament.
Oh,
So you
that's
can
huge.
still go grab Ecuador, who they got 4 MLS players, Chris. I got my MLS bias. 6th most players sent to the World Cup in terms of league. So MLS, climbing the ranks there. But Ecuador plus 110 on PointsBet right now, even odds on DK and FanDuel to advance
Okay.
out of this group. It's hard for me to see Senegal advancing out of Group A without their star player there. So I like Ecuador and obviously the Netherlands as the chalk there to advance. And Group B, again, I probably have my red, white, and blue blinders on here, but the fact that this team was not really healthy and fully together throughout the entire qualification process, and now we're 3 days away, so I'll knock on wood here. But I really think the U.S. can win this group. Obviously, it's going to come down to that England match on Black Friday next week, and Wales and
Right.
Iran. Like, if Group B isn't the group of death, then they're second to only Group F. Like, this is a extremely tough group. But I think that is kind of elevating the U.S.'s odds to actually win this group. It's plus 500 everywhere that I've looked. And if you're an American and you want to just ride with the home country, you want to ride with your boys, plus 500 I think is a decent bet there. That could actually happen. Like, I'm not betting them to win any knockout game, certainly not to reach or win the final, but I think that's pretty good value if you're sitting here waving the red, white, and blue at home from your couch or out at a bar or what have you, and you want
Yeah.
to cheer your guys on.
Tyler, we do have the odds for that group. If you want to flash them up, I know Zach just mentioned USA there at 5-1. And again, like England's always gonna. I mean, they got some players. I feel like they usually disappoint. I don't know. When I watched them, like even like years ago with Wayne Rooney and other players that they've had, and everyone always like England, this is the year. And I'm a big Spurs guy. I think you are as well. I love Harry Kane. I'll be rooting for him to do well here. But for the most part, I feel like they're definitely beatable. But when you look at all the other groups, you see massive favorites across the board. Argentina 250, England 280, Netherlands 280, France, 225, Belgium 190, Spain, not massive favorites because Germany is in there as well, Brazil 300, and then Portugal's not, huge with Uruguay in there as well. But this is one where, the second team here in USA and Wales, like there's some value. Like this is one of those groups where you're bringing it up. Like maybe they don't win the group, but maybe they advance here at 5-1. There's other groups here that I don't feel like you could really make a case at 5-1 that they could win or advance.
Yeah, and I think too, like, again, if you think Gareth Bale still has it, obviously the game tying goal, title saving goal for LAFC a few weeks back. Like, if you think he still has it, I saw him live this season. Like, obviously he wasn't given his full. He's waiting for this. And I think we'll know a lot in that Monday matchup to kick off the USA's tournament, facing off against Gareth Bale and Wales. And then like Iran there too, like they are not, like, you look at Iran, right? And you probably don't just immediately make the connection if you're a casual fan that they would have a really good soccer team, but they're like top 20, 22 in the world. Again, this is one of the toughest groups. So I just think England is being boosted up a little bit in those betting markets. I just don't think they're that strong of the favorite. Like you mentioned that they slip up every now and then. Like Jordan Pickford in net doesn't actually give me a ton of confidence for them. So again, that's just another little cookie for the United States here to win the group. Or again, if you really believe in that Wales team, I think that's an okay bet as well. I don't think either squad should be plus 500 here.
Yeah, Gareth Bale's not the. Obviously, I'm not breaking news. I know that. I still get watched. I'm like I said, a casual soccer fan, but he's nowhere near the player that he once was. He's getting up there in age. Okay, so you mentioned the other group, potential group of death, and that is, of course, with Canada here, Group F with Belgium, Croatia, Morocco in here, and you see the odds. I was in on the Croatia, man. I had them at 35-1 in 2018. I'm so glad that I hedged. I wasn't going to with France, and I just really liked their midfield. I thought that they, had a really strong midfield, and I think they're getting a little bit older here. What do you think are the chances maybe Canada can, get in here and maybe get that number 2 spot?
Yeah, so I think, again, obviously it's a long shot. Like Belgium,
Yeah.
another aging team, but still Belgium and Croatia are clearly a tier above, maybe 2 tiers above this Moroccan side and the Canadian side. But I do think there's gonna be some chaos here. Like Morocco's kind of another team that can sneak up on some casual fans. Like they have a lot of really solid players. And I think the same can be said about Canada. And again, maybe it's my MLS bias seeping in here. So we'll start with the non-MLS guy, right? And this is the name that probably everybody knows is Alphonso Davies, right? You're going to see him do a lot more in the attack than he does, in club play. And then adding these guys like Lucas Cavallini, Ish Kone, right, who had a fantastic season for CF Montreal. Kamal Miller, one of the best 11 there at center back in MLS. Mark Anthony Kay, who went over to Toronto FC in a huge midseason trade from the West Coast there. John Osorio. Like, I could go on. Like, there's a lot of players on this team. And I'll shout out Maxime Crépeau because I didn't in our preview videos. Broke his leg in the MLS Cup final, so I feel for the guy. But he's got his ring. He's got his title in MLS. And I think he's young enough where he could probably make another run 4 years from now. So I do think that, like, Canada, like, you're going to have to get a result and most likely 3 points against Croatia or Belgium, which is the tall task for both Canada and Morocco. But I'm not surprised if we're sitting here in 2 weeks and one of them has gotten it done. That being said, if I had to bet on a team in this group, I'm going to take the plus odds on Croatia because I think they are the ones that they could get 9 points from this group. And so that's where I'm sticking. And I think like Canada's a team that maybe match by match, I'm going to check out the odds, certain things around, their 3 games coming up here in the group stage where maybe we can find some value there, maybe in a single game against Belgium or against Croatia.
Yeah, they would have to get one of those ones. I mean, they're quick, man. They're fun. They're fast. They're electric. They're like a well-balanced team. I don't feel like you mentioned Davies. Like, you're right. A lot of people know about Alphonso Davies, but he's great. But I don't feel like they're led by this huge superstar. I just feel like they're just well-balanced, and they can come at you in waves. And they play a really entertaining brand of football. So I am really looking forward to what
they won CONCACAF in the qualifiers, right? They were on top of US and Mexico. Like, this is a good team, and they just had a tough draw.
Well, let's bring up that group, all the groups one more time, and then we have the futures here where we can kind of get you out on maybe a couple long or, whoever you like maybe to win here. Is there another group that you feel, it doesn't have to be like a group of death, but one that you're just, man, like I am really looking forward to seeing how this shapes out?
Let's talk Group H. So we're going all the way to the end here and maybe potentially segueing into what we're going to talk about next. I'm a big fan of Uruguay here. First of all, like if anybody's been following the Cristiano Ronaldo saga over the last, obviously months that there's been turmoil with him and Manchester United. And then 7 to 10 days ago, he does the Piers Morgan interview and just turns not just Man U, but it appears to be like he turns this Portuguese team on its head in training. Like there is videos of his teammates like not being very happy with him. And so I think that opens the door. Like before that interview was released, I was already on Uruguay to win the group as a nice little value here. Like this the last go round for, again, we're seeing this with a lot of teams in this tournament, right? But it's the last go round for Suarez and Cavani and Diego Godin. Like, and then you're adding Darwin Nunez to this team. Like they just have a ton of talent. And like with the uncertainty surrounding the Portuguese right now, I really like Uruguay to win the group. You can get them, I think, plus 200 right now on FanDuel.
I love that. I am seeing plus 200 right now. And again, check it out, guys. All right, we got bets already in the FTN Bet Tracker. We have the free betting guide, as I mentioned. And off the top of the show, the free trial, ftnbets.com/free. Links inside the description of this video. Check it out. Hang out with us for a couple days, a couple winners, and you'll probably want to hang out with us for the rest of the tournament. Let's bring up the future odds, of course. Brazil is favorite. They always are. Funny story. I went into a pub in Toronto when they played in the semis against Germany. I didn't know it was going to be a Germany pub, and I was rocking her old school Ronaldo tee, and they lost 7-1. And obviously I'm not from Brazil. Like I'm Canadian. I'm rooting for Canada here. I'm rocking the tee and all good and fun. But man, I got it. Like they were giving it to me. I'm like, guys, I don't like care that much. Like, it's all good. But I did feel for Brazil, man. There's always so much pressure on this squad to get it done. They've had some, obviously some big moments. I think that they are more defensively sound this year than in years past. And I heard you mention it with Steph when you were previewing the group. I mean, 17 matches, qualifying games, 14 wins, 3 draws.
Yeah,
like that's
a record.
That's really unbelievable. They haven't won since 2002, but they do have 5 championships here. As you see, Argentina 5-1. Messi is on the board, right? I don't know if George is trying to jinx him, but should be the last run here for Messi and Argentina 5-1. France, Spain, England, Germany, Netherlands in here. You mentioned Portugal, Belgium. So maybe a little bit of value at the bottom of the board then, in your opinion.
Yeah, so I think I'm with you. Brazil is also my pick. Obviously, it's the chalk. So I think you and I both happy to eat that at 350.
Yeah,
I think you can maybe still get him at 400 in some places, but again, you use that prop shop at FTN Bets and try to find the best value for you. And I'm not going to fault anybody for going with Argentina, France, Spain. Like those top 4, I think are all, they're the top 4 for a reason, right? But I just don't think that those other squads quite match up to the overall skill and the level of depth at almost every position that Brazil brings to this tournament. And so I guess if we're going to go value hunting here on this board, maybe I kind of, I leaned into it earlier. I was gushing a little bit about Uruguay plus 4,000. You have 40-1 for this team with all those names that I mentioned. Like I think that's about as cute as I would get, so to speak. But I think it's not a crazy bet there. And you see the huge gap between them and Denmark sitting there at 2,200.
Denmark, I heard you say this as well. And are you a Spurs guy? I'm pretty sure you are. There's a couple of us at FTN. No, you're not. You're not.
Unfortunately, I think you're having the San Antonio Spurs bleed into Tottenham.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah, I'm actually Liverpool, and but I'm not like a diehard Austin FC. You see the Verde Listos behind me. I've got match balls up there on the shelf. Like that's my squad. So I'm an MLSer. I know a lot of people look down on the league, but we're coming. We're coming.
Yeah, you are. I mean, I've been to a couple games in Toronto. I think they're fantastic. I mean, great atmosphere, and the league is getting better. I do believe that. I think it's bright future for sure. Yeah, so I don't know. There's a couple Spurs guys at FTN that I thought maybe I got you mixed up. Yeah, which is the San Antonio on my mind. But I heard you guys talk about Christian Eriksen. How crazy, right? The story of Christian Eriksen. I mean, the guy almost died on the field a couple years ago. My goodness. Yeah. And for him to be, I mean, he's the heart and soul of Denver. I know he's a little bit older, but pretty crazy story, man, and somebody I'll be rooting for during this tournament.
Yeah, I don't know how you can't, right? Just from a human perspective, like this guy, I think was dead, right? His heart stopped on the field, and that was
heart stopped on the field
2 years ago. And the fact that he's now not just playing in this tournament, but coming in in form, he's been playing really well. So I think again that's more of a human side story for me rather than putting my money behind that Danish team. But that's also something to watch.
We'll get you out of here on this, switching gears a little bit, sticking football, but American football. Of course, I want to ask you about the Steelers just quickly. So I was thinking maybe, I don't know, they're playing good. I'm not going to take any shots on the Steelers. I think there's some reasons to be optimistic about the future. I think so anyways, but I want to get your thoughts on Kenny Pickett, what you think about what you've seen from him so far, maybe George Pickens. I'm going to give Bengals spread on the show, but Mike Randall, who's super sharp, at the FTN betting show happening today at our FTN Network YouTube page at 5 Eastern. Sneak peek, guys. One of his picks is he's on Steelers. He's on the Steelers to cover the points. So you like that. Thoughts on if that could happen and what you've seen from Kenny Pickett. Do you think he could be I don't want to say superstar, but do you think he'd be did the Steelers find their quarterback of the future?
I'm still undecided, and maybe that's a cop-out. I just don't think I can make a real judgment on him until he has some protection. The offensive line is just in shambles, and it has been since the start of the season. Obviously, Mitch had a tough time too, but it does feel good to have a quarterback that can have some velocity on his passes. And again, he's a young guy, so I'm not passing judgment too quickly. I think he's shown flashes, right? And he's got all the weapons around him. It's just he's running for his life most of the time. So I think he's not a guy that I'm going to say at the end of this year. I think no matter what happens, I'm not going to say that they need to go out and draft some more high-level competition for him. I think he has done enough to deserve at least this job next year and improve the other pieces around him, specifically that line. And then if we're talking this weekend, I love that Mike Randall is on it because, like you said, he's extremely sharp. So it's like confirming my prior bias that I had Sunday evening when these lines came out. When that trio of defenders, obviously TJ Watt is the most important, but him, Cam Hayward, and Minkah Fitzpatrick, who I believe should be back from his appendicitis this week, they have those three guys on the field. They are going to compete with anybody in the league. And I've said that since the beginning of last year. It's the defense that's been driving this team lately. If the offense can score 20 points, they have a shot to win almost any game that they're, unless you're playing like Buffalo, KC in the playoffs last year. But specifically for this one, especially with no Jamar Chase, is what it's looking like, I believe. I don't know if he's ruled out quite yet.
I think you're right. I don't think he's going to play.
I just think, Steelers at home, they already beat this team when those three guys were healthy on defense. And TJ Watt had like what seemed like 5 or 6 sacks in that overtime win. And he left in the middle of the game with the torn pec, right? So I love that pick. If you're still finding that at 4.5 places, I would take the Steelers. And don't take my word for it. Listen to Mike Randall later on.
Listen to Mike, I mean, Watt is such a beast, and they gave Burrow a ton of fits in that first game. I think he had 4 or 5 turnovers in that game, a couple picks and some fumbles as well. Zach, always appreciate chopping it up with you, man. Check out Zach Fridays. NFL DFS live stream at 4 Eastern. Get that free trial. Hang out with him. You don't have the NFL DFS package? Well, here's your chance. ftndaily.com/free. He's with you every single Friday. He's with you most NBA days as well, leading up to tip-off, giving you some NBA plays, super sharp, as you guys are well aware, just watching right now. Appreciate it, dude. Queisenberg DFS, Zac Graham, ladies and gentlemen. We'll say goodbye to him. We're going to continue the NFL talk. We do have some picks against the spread, one hockey game tonight, so a couple NHL props and NFL props around out Mean Streets. Thanks, Zach, for taking the time. Enjoy the World Cup, dude. All the picks over at ftnbets.com and more preview videos on our YouTube page. Hang tight. We're back in a couple. Welcome back in live television. You'd think I'd be ready in the commercial break for the camera switch, but we want to thank Zach for jumping in here, diving into the World Cup. It should be fun. I got some futures and some props in there. FTNBets.com. Again, I'm not a huge soccer guy. I like Argentina and Mexico in Group C to finish like 1 and 2. You can get the exact over at DraftKings, plus 225. I think that's pretty good. I would take some of the chalk on, some of these groups, honestly, just to kind of, I guess I could have brought this up in the last segment, and you could parlay some of these. Like I do believe, Brazil at -300 and not break any news, but if you chuck them in with Belgium, you chuck them in with France, Argentina, and I'd say the Netherlands, you could even maybe put England in that group. I do believe that they will win Group B. You could just put all of those in and all of a sudden, parlay them to kind of make it worth your while. I don't think you'll see massive upsets in those groups. I just want to give you an example of those. And it's a lot that I'm chucking in. I'm leaving Spain out because I do believe Germany could win that one. Uruguay, Portugal, right? Zach gave some good points there. But if you just went Brazil, Belgium, France, Argentina, England, and Netherlands, that's plus 657. I know it's a 6-way, parlay here, but I don't see these soccer teams, not winning those groups. I think that the talent between them and then, the next tier is tremendous. You get some tougher, groups there that we talked about with B and F and who's going to be the number 2 in those groups. But, staying away from E with Spain and Germany and maybe staying away from Group H there with could be competitive up at the top. But again, Brazil, Belgium, Argentina, France, Netherlands, and England in there. Let's look at the NFL Week 11 slate. I think we have some updated odds here. If you want to bring up the schedule, there we go. So we've seen a little bit of line movement. I'll just start with the line movement. Like the Eagles have moved from 9.5 to 6.5 favorites in Indianapolis to take on the Colts. We've seen a little bit of line movement with the Pats, 3.5 to 3. We've seen a little bit of line movement with the Saints, a little bit with the Giants as well, 4 to 3. I really wish I jumped on the lines earlier in the week at maybe +4, 4.5. I think this is going to be a tight one. In fact, I think this could be a game where Detroit wins. We can talk about that in the next block. I know, Tyler, my bad. I like the way that your Giants are playing football, but we'll talk about it a little bit later on. Ravens have kind of stayed true, 12.5 to 13. The Commanders, 2.5 up to 3. A little bit of line movement with the Cowboys as well, 2 to -1.5. See a lot of people on this Dallas team. I mean, you're giving me the Vikings at home with 1 loss in the season as home dogs. I'm pretty interested. Bengals at 3.5. We touched on that in the last block. We've seen the Chiefs move from 6, 5.5 into this morning, late last night at 4.5. And the San Francisco 49ers have moved up a little bit to 8. Just kind of rapid firing through some of my thoughts here. With some of these games, we'll have some against the spread picks and totals and money line plays in the next block here. But from a starter standpoint, just going to roll through. I think Drake London, you could start him. This is a week with a lot of wide receivers and a lot of injuries. It's tough out there right now for wideouts, right? You see a lot in Tampa and Seattle, Miami, even Jacksonville. Christian Kirk has been really good, so you may have to start Drake London. I'm starting Darnell Mooney. There's a question, Deesh, Mooney or Palmer, half-point PPR. Look at our projections. We have them spot on. We have Mooney for 57.1 receiving yards on 4 grabs, 9.6 points and a half-point setting. We have Palmer for 57.8 yards and just 9.9 fantasy points. So both of those guys, 9.6 versus 9.9 and a half-point setting. The edge right now is to Palmer. But as I mentioned, you're going to want to pay attention to practice reports. If Keenan plays and Mike Williams plays, I would roll out Darnell Mooney there. That's how I would split the difference, as Mooney being the number 1 or the number 2 option in what could be a high-powered offensive game in Atlanta and Chicago. We could see a lot of points there, right? The Bears give up a lot of good defensive players. Marriotta's playing okay football. But I would start Drake London as like a flex, low-end wide receiver 3. Mooney for sure. You got to feel better about Donovan Peoples-Jones and Amari Cooper with that game not being in Buffalo with all the snow. Keep an eye if this game is going to happen or not. We'll hear some news, but in a dome in Detroit, right? We talked earlier in the week that maybe you're only starting Singletary and Diggs and Allen, but now I think you feel better about Jacoby Brissett in the super flex league. Donovan Peoples-Jones has been, electric over the last few weeks. I'll be in on his receiving yard prop again this week. It'll probably be in the 40s. It's something that he's done since week 4, for at least 4 grabs and 50 receiving yards in every game since week 4. So wheels up for him, and you can feel a little bit better about the Browns offense, maybe just kind of keeping pace with the Bills, but I do believe the Bills will cover that large spread. The Eagles, I think, it's tough. Indy should be able to run on them a bit. Jonathan Taylor should have some success. Don't let, the Raiders fool you. And then Matt Ryan had a big game last week. It was more on the Raiders, I think. I think it will be all business for the Eagles to go into Indy and win this game by a touchdown. I like the Jets, actually, to beat the Pats. I'll probably just take them plus 3.5. You can get 3.5 for the Jets. I don't think we'll see a lot of points in this game. Defense, both defenses are good, but I think the Jets defensive squad is better. And they did beat New England earlier in the year, right? Can Bill lose to the Jets twice in 1 year? I don't know. And that happened. We've seen crazier things happen this year. The Rams and the Saints, don't think we'll see a lot of offense, but I have a lean to the Saints at home. It does sound like Matthew Stafford is going to play, but the Rams haven't been able to do anything on the ground. We haven't seen a whole lot from Allen Robinson this season, so he's going to be the one, but I like New Orleans at home. Get into Detroit a little bit more later. Ravens, right, chalky bet. A lot of these big spread teams have not covered this season. We've seen a lot of underdogs cover this year. I don't think this is the case. I need to hear about Gus Edwards and Mark Andrews, though, before I, start to lay a team by 13 points. But I think, Baker Mayfield going into Baltimore, I know he's familiar with the Ravens. He's had some decent moments against them as a member of the Browns. I know a couple years ago they popped off. Him and Jarvis Landry and Odell were fantastic in a game. But I like this Ravens defense is starting to take shape a little bit at home. I don't think Baker will do a whole lot. I like the Commanders. I don't know. Is this a trap? I think that they win. Take them on the money line. Take them, on the spread. You get better odds if you take them on the spread. I think they win by a field goal. I'm not going to touch this Raiders and Broncos game. Russell Wilson, we talked a lot about the Broncos already. If they scored 18 points in every single game this year, they'd be 8-1. If you take away the game that they played the Raiders, they're averaging 13 points per game. 13 points per game. That's it. That's all they're averaging this season. Crazy. But you can pass on the Raiders. Judy, I don't think is going to play. I got to lean to the Broncos winning the game, but my goodness, both of those teams are awful. A lot worse than I thought they would be this year, that's for sure. I like the Vikings at home. The Bengals, we just talked about it a little bit with Zach. I still think that they win. You're getting some pieces back. Zach brings up some good points. Randall's on the Steelers to cover at home, getting some defensive players back. If that gets down to 3, I'll feel a little better. It could move to 3. It's moving that way anyways. And I would jump on the Bengals to win this game by a field goal, even without Jamar Chase. Chargers, I think the Chargers could cover this game 4.5, especially if Williams is back and Keenan Allen. It could be a fun game, and I think the Niners roll against Arizona. But it does sound like Hollywood Brown could return. You got Hopkins, you got Rondell. Let's see if Kyler is under center. And you know what? We're big Hollywood fans here on the show. I know Tyler owns him a lot as well. If Hollywood is active, he's playing. I am playing him in my lineups. That upside is just so nice. I would have him ranked ahead of Rondell Moore, and I have Rondell Moore ranked around wide receiver 30 right now, and slightly higher in a full point PPR setting. We are going to take a look at those picks against the spread and totals that I like, and then I have an NHL pick for you to round out Mean Streets. Keep her locked. Welcome back in. Let's get to the picks against the spread, the totals, and I got a couple of props here for you. So I am going with the Bengals here. I am leading with Cincinnati. I just think that they're the better football team. But again, Steelers at home, bringing some, defensive players back on the squad. Had the W against Cincy in week 1. I do believe, though, that Cincy, I think you could wait that one out. I really do feel like that may change to 3, and then maybe I'll jump on that one. But I like the Jets to cover at 3.5. I also like the New Orleans Saints at home. I'm big on the Saints here this week. I mean, not tremendously big, but I just feel like, as you see on the right, I don't think we'll see a lot of points scored in this game. And I am taking the under 39, and I am taking the team at home. I just think the Rams are toast. I think that they're absolutely done. So I try not to pick any teams like on the money line that have just massive spreads, like the Bills or the Eagles or I don't know, the 49ers. Like those are 3 teams that I do expect to win this week. Even the Chiefs, at minus 225. So I went with Washington. Now I think I just wanted to stress that, if you think that the Commanders are going to win, you're better off taking them, on the spread at minus 3, at minus 107 at PointsBet, rather than taking them on the money line, which is now minus 159 at Unibet, the best price you can take. But I didn't want to come in here with like, oh, Ravens minus 625 on the money line, giddy up. So I wanted to go a different way. Always try to put a couple upsets in here. Like, give me the Vikings, right? A 1-loss team. They're feeling themselves. They just went into Buffalo and won. I think the Cowboys, they've done a lot of good things this season. I do believe overall they're an overrated team. I've said this for the past couple of years now on this show. Like, everybody loved them against the Niners. We loved them on this show, the Niners. Plus money, we were jumping all over that. Not just on the spread, but we like them to win that playoff game. The defense has had some moments. They definitely got some key players on the squad. Dak is kind of hit or miss. Sounds like Zeke is going to be back, but give me the Vikings at home. Are you kidding me? Like, we just saw this Cowboys team in Lambeau last week blow a double-digit point lead in the second half. The Packers stink. I didn't even really get into that game. The Packers are no good. They're no good. They're not a good football team. They showed us again yesterday. Everybody was on Green Bay. Everyone. I couldn't believe it. All these teams on Green Bay yesterday, and they haven't shown us anything all year. The Vikings have. I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings at home. I am on the Lions daily handle because I think that they could win the game money line plus 145. So I definitely think that they could win on the spread. My reason is they have a couple wins in a row, so they are playing good. The offensive line is great, and both teams can run on each other. Right? Detroit can't stop the run. Giants can't stop the run. See a lot of teams run, but ultimately, I have a little bit more faith in the Lions passing attack than I do the Giants. And I think that there is a loss. Like, the Giants are playing good football. I don't think they're going to run through all the teams. They're now plus 140. So it's moving in the other way. And yeah, you could just jump on the Cowboy or the Lions daily handle. No, you're good. You can jump on the Lions there at plus 3 if you want. And then the Jets and the Jets and the Pats under. And then I do believe we'll see some points, right? Like Dak and the boys probably get 2 or 3 touchdowns. I think the Vikings probably get 2 or 3 touchdowns as well. And yeah, in the last block daily handle, I did mention I don't mind the Chargers at plus 5. I think that could be a field goal game. We actually have a couple props. We'll save it. We'll break. I got 2 quick NFL props followed by an NHL prop as well. Keep your lock. One more segment here on Mean Streets.
I can't say enough about what we've got going on over at FTNBets.com.
At FTN Bets, your bankroll can be profitable. With the FTN Bet Tracker, you can tell your favorite experts across all sports, including the NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball.
Welcome back to Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. I'm your host, Chris Meaney.
And with our premium content, you can take your bets to the next level. Only $49.99 a month. Use the tools the pros use at FTN. Our betting models run over 100,000 simulations of every game, with sides and totals in the NFL, the NBA, and more. Use the home run predictor to see who'll hit a bomb deep, Our NFL player projections will make you a DFS king. And the FTN Prop Shop always finds the best odds for your player props. All tools, projections, and models are powered by FTN Data.
A couple NFL props that I like that I've seen so far. Again, a shout out to FTN Bets, our betting show coming your way on our FTN Network YouTube page at 5 Eastern. And of course, the free betting trial. I've said it so many times, but why not jump on it? One prop that I'm taking a look at here, Paris Campbell. I like his receiving yard prop. We talked a lot about him on the show. You see 39.5, BetMGM minus 115. Paris Campbell, his last 3 games with Matt Ryan, 32 targets, 24 catches, 203 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 50 fantasy points. Throughout the 2 games with Sam Ellinger, he didn't do anything in those games. Matt Ryan has found himself a target that he likes. And guess what? Paris Campbell's not going to have to deal with Bradbury or Slay. He's going to play in the slot. And when Matt Ryan a couple weeks ago, when they played the Broncos, and he was just throwing to Alec Pierce because he didn't want to throw to Patrick Surtain, and Surtain was all over Pittman. He didn't want to throw his way. I don't think he's going to want to throw to Darius Slay either. So I think he's going to focus in on Campbell. The other prop that I like is Terry McLaurin. I can't believe it's this low, his receiving yard prop. I think it's going to change in a hurry. Over the last 3 weeks, a 34% target share, which is number 3 in the NFL behind Justin Jefferson and Stephon Diggs. He has a league-high 56% air yard share. He's got a 91.38 WOPR percentage. What the heck does that mean? Well, you can see it for free over at FTN Daily, FTNFantasy.com, and our air yards tool. It's the weighted average that incorporates a player's share of team targets and a share of team air yards. That is tremendous, 91%. His last 3 games, 28 targets, 73 yards, 113 yards, 56 yards, and 128 yards. Those yardage totals from his last 4, 300 yards over his last couple. And on the way out, an NHL prop for you. It is Brock Besser, plus 100. He's a handful of games since he's returned to the lineup. He didn't hit in his last game, but he hit in 4 of the previous 5, before that last one. Let's start this over. He's cleared in 4 of his last 5, 17 shots on goal over those 5 games. Got assists in each of those games and a power play assist in 3 straight. Over 2.5 plus 100 against the Los Angeles Kings. I'd like to take a look at him and maybe Elias Pettersson for a point tonight. And then Brock Besser and JT Miller point parlays. We're out of here. Have a great Friday. Check out the shows on FTN Network, and we'll be back on Monday. Have a great weekend. Cheers.